Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good evening. My name is Dominic Frisby and you are watching Headliners, the show in which we look through a comedic lens at Thursday's papers. And not just that, we do it simultaneously on your screens and over your digital radio via GB News Radio. And as ever, we start with the news, and reading it today is Polly Middlehurst.
Very good evening. My name's Polly Middlehurst with your latest headlines. The Prime Minister has told President Vladimir Putin that any Russian incursion into Ukraine would be a tragic miscalculation. Boris Johnson and Vladimir Putin held a phone call about the tensions over Ukraine earlier. According to Number 10, both leaders agree that aggravation was in no one's interests. This comes as US President Joe Biden sent nearly 3,000 American troops into Eastern Europe. John Kirby from the US Department of Defense says the troops are there to bolster Ukraine's defenses.
The United States will soon move additional forces to Romania, Poland, and Germany. I want to be very clear about something. These are not permanent moves. These forces are not going to fight in Ukraine. They are going to ensure the robust defense of our NATO allies.
Here, Northern Ireland's Minister for Agriculture has ordered all post-Brexit checks on goods coming from the rest of the United Kingdom to stop from midnight tonight. Edwin Poots saying he sought legal advice which supports his view that he's entitled to stop the checks. The checks are imposed by the Northern Ireland Protocol, which was agreed by the UK and the EU to ensure free movement of trade across the Irish border following Brexit. But the DUP minister believes it's created instability within the country's power-sharing institutions.
I've now issued a formal instruction to my Permanent Secretary to halt all checks that were not in place on the 31st of December 2020 from midnight tonight. I'll prepare a paper for executive consideration in the near future to seek agreement on a way forward.
Meanwhile, the Levelling Up Secretary has unveiled the government's plans to tackle regional inequalities. Michael Gove pledged that by 2030, pay, employment and productivity will all grow in every area of the UK. He told the House of Commons this afternoon the plans would boost the UK's economy by tens of billions of pounds annually.
The economic prize from levelling up is potentially enormous. If underperforming places were levelled up towards the UK average, unlocking their full potential, it could boost aggregate UK GDP by tens of billions of pounds each year.
Michael Gove. The Mayor of London has put the Police and Crime Commissioner on notice after the exposure of highly offensive messages sent by Metropolitan Police officers. Sadiq Khan warned Dame Cressida Dick the messages revealed a culture of racism, homophobia, bullying and misogyny within the force, and said she must drive it out. That comes as the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, told the Commons Home Affairs Committee that the messages indicated a failure of leadership. And lastly, the Duchess of Cambridge is the new patron of the Rugby Football Union and Rugby Football League. Catch. She takes over the role from Prince Harry. Kensington Palace says the appointment is due to her long-standing passion for sport. On TV, online and on your radio via DAB+. You are with GB News. Now it's more from Headliners.
Thank you, Polly. This is Headliners, the show in which comedians read tomorrow's papers so you don't have to. And the comedians joining me tonight are the carefree and glamorous Diana Spencer and the carefree and glamorous Scott Capurro. So similar and yet so different. How are you doing, Scott? Your first time on Headliners with me. I promise to be gentle with you.
So excited, yeah. It's a thrill, and it's great to see you in your lovely active jacket.
Well, I say I have similar admiration for your jacket.
It's just Paul Smith. Anyone can wear it.
And Diane, we are old hands at this game. He literally just dropped Paul Smith in there. You're very cheap. I wasn't listening, and now I realise you were. How are you doing today, Diane? Have you had a nice day?
I've had a lovely day, thank you. For the first time ever, I made some very large curried turkey meatballs.
Curried turkey meatballs. That's eclectic.
Thank you. That's what my husband said as he stared confusingly at the pan.
Curried turkey meatballs. I'm not entirely sure that's right. Anyway, let's get started. And before we go to the stories, let's have a potter through tomorrow's headlines, starting with the Daily Telegraph, which has Sunak splashes out to ease bills crisis. That is a story we'll be covering in just a moment. Moving on to the Independent, which says pressure rises on Johnson as Tories urge him to quit. We'll also be covering that story. And the UK warns Putin about hostile activity. I bet he's absolutely terrified. That's Boris trying to distract attention away from you-know-what. The Guardian is next, and it has pressure on PM as more Tory MPs call for him to go. The FT has Sunak and Bank of England work in tandem to head off cost of living catastrophe. Oh gosh, their policies caused the cost of living catastrophe. And then near the bottom of the page, quite an interesting headline here. Google's DeepMind develops AI tool that can write its own computer code, apparently to a higher standard than many humans code. So singularity might be closer than we think. Moving on, the cost of living crisis makes the headlines in the Mirror. D-Day on prices agony. And we go to the Express, which has a tragic gamble. PM's warning to Putin over Ukraine as RAF jets scrambled to see off Russian bombers. And there's also a picture of the Duchess of Cambridge playing rugger. One thing she isn't playing is rubber. And finally, not finally, in the Metro, Putin gives Boris a buzz. That's the interception of the Russian planes in British airspace. Another story we'll be covering. And finally, the Daily Star. All hail the Daily Star. Sleepy Joe Biden sends thousands of troops to confront the Ruskies. Squeaky bomb time. And I was about to say those are today's headlines, but I was rudely interrupted by the sting. And there we have an example of AI taking precedence over human beings. So to our first story, and 3 more MPs today have handed in votes of no confidence in Boris Johnson. That makes 7 in total who've spoken out publicly, and probably many more behind the scenes. How far are we from the magic 54? Boris, meanwhile, seems to be trying to divert attention with his trip to Kiev and his rhetoric on Russia and Keir Starmer and Jimmy Savile, but problems are mounting up for him, Scott, aren't they?
I still saw him jogging in paisley running shorts and little black boots the other morning, and I was really impressed by that.
Did you see him in the papers doing that, or was he jogging near your house?
On TV, I wish I would have joined him. Now, at like 5 a.m., I don't jog at 5 a.m., it was dark out while he was jogging. He's a brave man. I don't like him, but I do admire his jogging wear. And I do think his stamina at this point, his ability to self-promote is incredible. And to try to change people's, focus, it's good.
Yeah, he goes jogging when he's trying to distract.
And all the other things you mentioned that he's doing. I think that some of these MPs have said that they're also going to send in letters, but they're waiting for the police inquiry to end before they send their letters of disapproval in. So there might be a lot more all at once. We'll
if
see.
you were a Conservative MP, and I know you have the clean-cut look that could make you a Conservative MP, but the wrong accent. Nevertheless, if you were, would you be sending in your letter of vote of no confidence?
If I was a Conservative MP, I'd try to get guns in the hands of the public. That's what I try to do, so they can defend themselves against the police. But also what I would try to do is support...
against knife crime.
That too. I think his party needs to support him. I don't think he's going to last this weekend. But I think his party needs... I think there's a lot of anger out there. And I think there's only 2 years before the next election, and his... party is terrified about losing their position. And there's
how I know you could be a really good Conservative MP? I'll tell you how. You didn't answer the question. Diane, what do you think of Boris Gate?
Well, I think that this whole 1922 committee and their letters, I think it would have happened much faster if they knew about email. I think we need to contact them and let them know that there's other methods out there and they could speed things up. I mean, we won't.
I'm going to go one stage further. I'm going to say signal.
Signal?
Because then it's confidential. Nobody knows. And you can have disappearing messages after 1 week.
Oh, I like it. Nothing to do on WhatsApp, because they'll just leak that everywhere, because WhatsApp is very leaky. But, yeah, I like the fact that some people have said who they are. I call them the Magnificent Seven, because there's only 7 of them who have admitted. And everybody else has quietly gone, I'm very unhappy with how things... Because they don't want their funding cut, allegedly.
Yeah, they're being discreet, is one way of putting it. I heard 53. We're one short, but it was on Twitter, so I might be wrong.
Oh, yeah, but you follow lots of interesting people on Twitter, don't you?
I do. I heard 53. Now, what I like about all this is until about 3 years ago, nobody had heard of Graham Brady. And now he's like the most famous guy in politics.
Yeah.
Well, I completely understand how he feels, because once upon a time, I was a script typist for a soap opera, and in the storyline, we had a murderer, right? So suddenly, I became the most important person that every single actor wanted to take to lunch, because they wanted to find out if they had a career after the next episode. And that's what's happening to Graham Brady right now. He can get lunches, he could be taken for shopping trips. He's got it all for him right now, because they all want to know what's going on.
Apparently, he's a man of great principle who knows his role, but personally, I'd be taking brown envelopes. Right, the cost of living crisis has been caused by excess government intervention, printing money, suppressing interest rates, blocking the development of nuclear power and fracking, adding green levies, which amount to roughly 25% of energy costs. And energy bills are now set to rise by 50%. That is so much money. The solution to the crisis is more intervention from the very bodies who are most responsible. This is supposed to be a Conservative government, but these don't seem to be Conservative policies, do they, Diane? They're a betrayal of the principles of the free market.
Well, now we're talking about Uncle Rishi and his big grand plan to try and offset the cost of living crunch that's going to happen in April, aren't we?
We are.
That's what we're talking about. OK, because you use lovely big words that I'm not completely sure what they all mean. I'm not going to hide it.
I thought I was crystal clear.
You are crystal clear to somebody who is at your level of understanding economics, my dear. Now,
Can I just ask you a very quick question? As a woman, is Rishi dishy?
No. Not to me, but I don't speak for every single woman. I speak purely for myself, and I shall say, no thank you, sir.
Scott, would you?
Got a lovely smile, I think. He's very ambitious and very confident, which is attractive too. Yeah, compared to Boris, yes, definitely.
Boris would be more fun. Right, back to the story.
That sounds like a bet.
Or like you know.
I told you he follows funny people on Twitter. Yeah, so it's great that... I mean, I think it is great as somebody who pays bills that Uncle Rishi is somehow going to try and shave £200 and try and rebate us this. But this is a gamble, because if the wholesale price doesn't come down, then there's going to be more problems. And the only way I can think to solve this is if they actually do open that coal mine in Cumbria, which obviously is like a massive no-no on the part of the environment, but it would mean that then we don't have to keep sort of... I would say we're being nice to Putin, but are we ever?
We wouldn't be dependent on the wholesale markets.
Yes.
Exactly, and we would be self-sufficient. But these are the difficult decisions that politicians have to make. Would you open the mine, Scott?
No, one decision I'm going to have to make is maybe cancel my direct debit to British Gas. That's the only way I can afford to pay my bill, which is to not pay it. And they can't pull your energy. It's illegal to turn your power off, apparently.
Is that right?
It is.
Is it a human right?
It is a human right. And they cannot, especially during the winter. So either, like you said, be nice to the Russians, or just tear up your credit cards and don't pay your bills.
I think it's going to give rise to so much cronyism, because as soon as once companies know they're being paid, they're just being given money by the government, there's absolutely zero incentive to try and get their costs down. So
it is also an option where you could try jogging to stay warm. I suggest all the time to my husband, when you put a jumper on, he's from Brazil, Kapuro, I'm wearing shorts. That's enough. No, shorts is not enough in January. Wear more, put on more.
Yeah, put on an extra layer.
Wear a hat, wear a wig. I don't know, stay warm. Get some activity going, clean.
A far-right fascist with opinions like that. A major study has concluded that lockdowns did more harm than good. Lockdowns prevented just 0.2% of deaths. In some cases, they increased mortalities, for example, by limiting access to outdoor space. They should be rejected out of hand as a future pandemic policy, says the report, which is reported in the Daily Telegraph. All my biases are confirmed. Are yours confirmed as well?
One thing it did do was gave my husband and I a chance to get to know each other a little bit more, which was really a problem.
I'm so sorry.
We've been spending a lot more time together, a lot more close, intimate conversation. He's found out more about
his difficult youth.
So, I found out about his youth. I've been spending a lot of time with my father in California, because he's on his own, because my stepmother died last year, not from COVID, but just from being bigoted. And she just couldn't stand the smell or stench of herself anymore. But anyway, now he's on his own, my dad, and we've been talking a lot, and I've realized that I'm more like him than I thought, which means I may live till 86 years old on brandy and 2 packs of cigarettes a day, which isn't so bad.
Now, this is a beautiful story, but I don't feel that you've summarised the article.
I skipped it. But also, no, I did read the article. And of course, it did say that some of the lockdown policies, like locking down unnecessary places like pubs, may have helped a great deal, because people were drinking less and hugging less, I guess, and communicating less. But that the general overall lockdown was probably not advised.
Yeah, and it doesn't factor in
around.
all the unintended consequences of lockdown, how it messed up kids and deprived people of key experiences
of income
in
as
their
well.
life.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Would a voluntarist approach have resulted in better outcomes, Diane? Do you know what I mean by that?
Like in Sweden?
Yes. And in fact, one of the universities that did this study was a Swedish university, so they might be a bit biased.
Considering that there's a pub very close to my house, and when I was going on my daily permitted walk, I realised very quickly they didn't know we were in lockdown. So I'm not sure a voluntarist approach would completely work.
Did they confuse lockdown and lock-in?
Well, I definitely confused the two, and lock-in and karaoke night, it seems.
They were doing karaoke nights in lockdown?
Very loudly, yeah. Walked past and it was all just bye, bye, bye. It was, okay.
Yeah, all right.
So, do you agree with the study? Or what you've read of it?
Well, I'm not a statistician, and I haven't researched this as much. And like you said, I am wary of people's...
Don't mince, get to the point. Don't hedge.
I think that the best thing we were able to do, I think mask wearing helped, probably more than anything else. And it seems to have helped with all sorts of communicable diseases. For me, the lockdown was torturous. I think in any other pandemic, what we should have done was what we did before, about 100 years ago, was put people who are at risk away somewhere, and everybody else let them go about their, day-to-day life, is what I think we should have done.
Well, the only thing that I would mention is that this report has not been peer-reviewed, and I think that's immensely important in science, because if you do not peer-review things, you end up with things like Theranos and weird blood testing stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Peer review is one of those expressions, a bit like Sir Graham Brady, that none of us knew until about a year ago, and now it's we all say it. Right, that brings us to the end of part one. We're going to take a quick break now for some ads, study them carefully, buy the products they're offering, because that's how I get paid, and then join us for part two, when we will find out about Native American opiate addiction and why northern trains are destined to be rubbish for 200 years. See you in a moment.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Dominic Frisby, and today's panel are Diane Spencer and Scott Capurro, and we are looking at tomorrow's papers, or today's papers if you're watching the early morning show. And the first of our stories in this part, Pegasus spyware can take complete control of a phone, accessing messages, intercepting calls, using the phone as a listening device. And Scott, The Guardian says the FBI has been using it.
Well, Pegasus spyware was created by an Israeli tech firm to, as you say, kind of spy on people, I guess. And it's quite popular amongst...
Is it sort of malware?
Well, it is, and it's quite popular amongst the FBI because they like the idea of using it. But they promised they won't. They said that they bought it because they wanted to look after it. For the way I used to do when I was in school, looking after the drugs, so my friends couldn't do them. I was the guy who held the weed and the cocaine, so no one else could use it. And that's what the FBI is doing for this software. They said that they needed to see how it worked. They needed to see what the true threat was, but they promised they'll never, ever put into action.
The FBI also did that with all the drugs they seized when the Silk Road website was busted.
And then about 40 agents didn't show up for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Weirdly, but I guess they were...
all these bitcoins appeared in their wallets.
They were storing it all. But yeah, they claimed that there's no operational support for the Pegasus within the US government, but they did need to know what the risk involved was.
Is the perception of the FBI in the US that they say one thing and do something else? They're a little bit dodgy.
Well, I mean, they're spies as well, aren't they? And, you know, they're not going to let all their eggs roll out of the basket. But I think what they're trying to do is reassure other governments that they won't use it against them, because this has been used to target dissidents and journalists by some governments that the Israeli tech firm has sold it to. So I think they're just trying to reassure their own public in America and say, look, we're not going to go after you with this. We have other tools anyway that we can use.
Do you use spyware on your husband, Diane, to keep him in place, to check his phone?
Constantly. I've got webcams, I've got the neighbour's cat, she's quite good. Yeah, no, I think a little bit of spyware doesn't hurt. I mean, this Pegasus spyware actually took complete control of your phone. So just imagine...
So can you actually, can you still work your phone, or do you even know?
You can, but your phone is now properly listening to you. So somebody has literally patched into you. It can intercept your phone calls. It can take control of your messages. It's basically as if you've unlocked it and then handed it to your mother. It's just somebody else is completely in control.
But
Facebook
Alexa
and Amazon are doing that. Yeah, exactly.
They do it already. I mean, apparently Amazon has asked the public to stop talking to Alexa so much because we're so lonely during the pandemic. We're asking her questions. My husband talks to her like they're friends. And Amazon's come and said, you need to back off. Alexa's exhausted. Move away.
This is from The Independent. The 5 Insulate Britain activists who glued themselves to the steps of the Royal Courts of Justice have been jailed. Diane, tell us more.
Good. Sorry, but as a motorist, good. I mean, when they always glue themselves with their hands, which I think is lazy, I want to see them really commit and glue themselves by their faces. I don't think if you're gluing yourself by your hand, you're really committing to the cause, or maybe glued by their knees. Yeah, basically, these people who somehow get on the M25, which is just preposterous to me. I mean, obviously, there's only a few places where the traffic is kind of slow enough where you can do that consistently, sort of around Heathrow. And they kept on gluing themselves to the floor to protest that Britain should be insulated, and then they broke the junction, and now some of them are being jailed. But they never really take a risk, in my opinion. I mean, I know it's risky to get on the M25, but they always glue themselves in a line. Why not do themselves in some kind of zigzag, like bollards, so the motorists can still get through, but you have to weave through?
More fun for the motorists.
I would say so.
I often think, not so much on the motorway, but when they glue themselves outside the Royal Courts of Justice, I kind of think, well, if you're going to glue themselves, fine, we'll just leave you. What, is that a bit harsh?
Let them freeze to death. Yeah, you know, I think they're lonely. They're over the age of 60. They're almost a retirement age, and I think they miss having their kids or a bit of activity around. I think they're just looking for a bit of attention. That's maybe take them out to dinner rather than put them in prison. It would save the taxpayer a lot of money.
Scott Capurro, comedian and psychologist. The Sun is next, and RAF jets have had to escort Russian Bear aircraft off Scotland's coast. And if anyone knows about military aircraft, it is Scott Capurro.
And bears. Look, I don't really get why I'm getting all the security stories, but, I'm feeling quite secure lately, but I guess I shouldn't, because RAF jets have scrambled to intercept, as you said, 4 Russian Bear aircraft. And this is quite common. These things happen all the time, where foreign aircraft kind of wander into space that they shouldn't be in. They never really got into UK airspace, but they got close enough that RAF had to go out there and tell them to, back off a little bit. The thing is, the Russian warplanes can be quite hazardous. They don't communicate with anyone while they're moving about. And they oftentimes come quite close to collisions. So that could be corrected, maybe. Maybe we talk to Putin about that, I think.
Do you have any thoughts on this one, Diane?
Well, I'm not sure why they called it a Russian Bear aircraft. It's the least aerodynamic animal I can think of.
Called the Eagle or something.
I think the aggressiveness of it, the Bear aircraft. Bears can move quite quickly, can't they? They can.
They can.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite common, because last week or a week before, we had the Russian Navy, the Russian military, in Irish fishing waters, and there was a dispute over that. And I love the fact that the Russian diplomat at the centre of the fishing disputes had the surname Filatov.
And I wonder if they're flexing their muscle, or if they're just getting more notoriety right now because they're being a bit aggressive in another part of the world. And then now we're just like, are we being surrounded? Are they moving in? But I think it's no more, no less than they always do. I think Putin's been showing off for quite a lot of time. And I think the Russian public responds to that, or else he wouldn't bother.
Yeah. I don't know, but personally I find it concerning. They seem to be rather a long way from home.
It's just moving chess pieces around, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to Russia for work in 2 weeks, and I'm bringing my own. I'm bringing my own tea, of course, and I'm afraid to even charge my phone all the stuff I've read, about how aggressive they can be toward their own public. And I think they like a bit of Big Brother. They like, to know that they're being looked after.
Is that to do a comedy gig?
Yeah.
In English or in Russian?
In English. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I want to know who books it. Right, Scottish club Wraith Rovers is in trouble after it signed David Goodwillie, who was found in the civil court to have raped a woman. Diane, this is in The Guardian.
Yes. Goodwillie by name, not by nature. Yes, now the women's team obviously cut ties, and the people who signed him, the Rovers management, were saying, oh, don't cut ties, don't blame us, it was a football-related decision. Really? Was it, dear? So it wasn't because of his incredible cooking skills? No, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But the thing is, Val McDermid, who has withdrawn her sponsorship, now the women's team are broken off separately, which I love, because it leaves them open to interpretation and a rebrand. And Val McDermid is a crime thriller writer, and she has written sort of all these books, and I was thinking they could use some of her books in rebranding themselves, because she's buying them all the new kit, because they don't want to be associated with this team who's hired a man who, in a civil case, has been found guilty of such a heinous crime. So they could call them, these are some of my Val McDermid titles, like what do you think, team? So you could have the 1979ers. What do you think? Any good? It sounds a bit American.
A little bit, yeah.
One of her books was The Wire in the Blood, but they could have called them The Balls in the Net or something. Any good?
I quite like The Wire in the Blood.
I like that.
The Wire in the Blood, yeah, but that's...
The football team, yeah.
As a football team, that sounds horrendous. It sounds like they're garrotting people.
We get Wraith, they're called the Wraith, as in the sort of ghosty thing. What about the Harpies or something like that? Name for a women's football
Yeah, but then they're still associated with the men's team. We want to associate them with their sponsor, Val McDermid, you see. There was Cross and Burn, but you could have Cross and Score.
Very good.
Yeah, right.
That's what it says on the tin.
Well, it needs to. It's branding.
Now you've seen an audience for women's football, really. That's what they need. Yeah, someone to watch.
Get it up the middle. That's what they should do. Right, on Levelling Up Day, The Guardian reports that although £96 billion, how much money is that, is being spent on trains, Andy Burnham reckons the North will have inferior trains for 200 years. How does he know?
He says these decisions are made, these grand decisions about the infrastructure of this country are made every 200 years. And this won't happen again for quite a long time. This will affect several generations.
Okay.
And he says what's happening right now is that even though Manchester and Birmingham are the two greatest benefactors of this project, he said still what's going to happen is we will be left to look after ourselves again, because we'll get poor trains and we won't get the rail service we deserve or that we need. I mean, the trains are going to Leeds via Birmingham and Manchester, but what they'd like is a train connection, obviously, between Manchester and Leeds through the Pennines, which they don't have. And they say that that's the most desperate part. That's what needs the most attention.
Yeah, I can't believe that doesn't exist.
Yes.
It must exist.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if it does, the trains are ineffective.
Well, I'm sure it exists. There's that slow train that... Anyway.
Well, that's exactly what we were talking about.
The slow train. You had to call it, but there's that slow train.
But when you're on, you're thinking, like you said, is this a train or is it a tram? What am I on right now? And what they need to do is...
I've ridden that route. It's beautiful.
I'm sure
it's one of the most beautiful, but it is slow.
And you had the time, but some people are rushing, I guess. And what the mayor of Manchester would like to see happen is a bit more money spent and a bit more determined, determination to make this work for the locals and not just to make it look like a green project that's going to be fashionable for now.
Well, everyone wants more money spent on them, including you, Diane.
Oh, God, yeah. You're offering? Well, I mean...
96 billion.
96 billion. I mean, Andy Burnham is a very shouty man, I've noticed. He does like to get very angry, and I'm not sure. Maybe he thinks he's going to live for the next 200 years. He's got that attitude about him. So I don't know. I think it's very sad that the North doesn't have the infrastructure that it needs. I really think that that should have happened by now, because obviously we travel up and down the country all the time doing comedy gigs, and it's not fair when you see like one bus every 2 hours, and you think, how do these people get around? It's not on. So.
A lot of the public that were interviewed about this did say that I wish they would improve the bus system, because the train system is something we don't use every day, but the buses are, and they're reducing them instead of improving them. And especially for people over the age of 50, it's very difficult, isn't it? And this will reduce this service, this new line they're building, will reduce the train time from London to Manchester by 55 minutes. But do we want that? I like my reading time in the train.
North Country Bus, that's a great song if you're into Jake Thackeray. The Telegraph is reporting that two friends who had never rowed together before have just crossed the Atlantic Ocean in record time, Diane.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. Jessica Oliver and Charlotte Harris. This is a ladies' brunch that got out of hand. That's what I reckon it is. I reckon they started off like at a nice cafe. They had a couple of mimosas and some pancakes. You know what it's like. And then you've had a couple of drinks and suddenly you end up in a boat going, let's sail across the Atlantic. Why not? And they did it. And they did it in record time.
45 days. They're rowing. I mean, I was thinking, like, how do they sleep? Does, like, one of them row and the other sleeps, or what?
It depends how drunk you get. Maybe they had tequila. We don't know by then. They had some rum. I reckon they just pulled a bit of a bender.
They row at night. I know that, because they had a near collision at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess they don't stop, and they must...
They must stop for a period. It's such an amazing... It's so terrifying to be on the water at night. I can't imagine. I mean, really...
Very quiet and romantic.
I guess. I hope the ladies
see
enjoyed
the stars and...
Yeah, it's sweet.
You complained, Scott Capurro, you complained about getting all the security stories.
Yes.
Well, Native American opioid addiction is next, and you're covering the story from the Times.
Well, apparently Native Americans, the Times says, had the highest opioid overdose rates in America in 2015, and I'm sure that continues. And this company, Johnson & Johnson, and their affiliates have settled this settlement with Native American tribes. All tribes in the U.S., all registered tribes with the U.S. government will now, between them, share a $590 million settlement in dollars. So that's good. I mean,
why has Johnson & Johnson been pushing the drugs? Why are they responsible?
Well, over the last 20 years, apparently, there's been 500,000 deaths in the U.S. because of these painkillers. And I think the doctors give them because people, well, they don't know what else to do they? A lot of people are trying to, maintain a life. They're trying to keep people out of jail, off the street, out of bars. I know this. I've read about this. So the doctors giving painkillers so people go to work. But in the meantime, they suffer all sorts of other problems, end up dropping dead. And there has been $40 billion worth of settlements over the last 20 years for these people who've suffered. And so this is one of those settlements.
And did Johnson & Johnson invent the vaccine as well?
Yeah, be worth knowing. But, in a way, these tribes have been fighting for this for quite a long time. So this problem has been around for a very, very long time.
You had problems with opioid addiction, Diane?
Well, I'm on several different ones right now. I mean, I thought that was the whole shindig that we're on telly. Aren't we supposed to do that?
Oh, man. I was at brunch with my sister.
Cocaine is the drug of choice for television presenter.
My sister told me, she said, I'm not on any opioids. I'm fine. I said, well, are you okay? Well, I take pain blockers. I said, what is that? She said, I know. It's not an opioid. I said, but it sounds addictive. Oh, it is. But, okay. Well, every American I know, pills to go to sleep, pills to wake up, pills to kill pain. That's part of the problem, isn't it?
That's capitalism. Right. Affairs, sexual misconduct, violations of impartiality rules, and big-name resignations. It's all happening at CNN. Diane, this is from the Times.
Well, I mean, it's all about workplace romance, isn't it? Because you have this Jeff Zucker, and he was the president of CNN, and he took them to glory with their highest ever ratings, on the day that they stormed the Capitol. Yeah, the Capitol Hill, yeah. Gee, I wonder why everyone was watching. And
was he really trying to take the credit for that?
Oh, yeah, he reckons that, he's like, the dude.
I was watching to see if my family was there. I'm sure they were.
It was just shaky camera footage.
And he's like the biggest He's the equivalent of the head of the BBC or the head of Channel 4 or something like that.
Yeah, he's a big media...
Or the head of GBNews, I should say.
Yeah, a big media mogul. And he was having a relationship with a woman named Alison Gollis. Now, both of them are divorced, both of them are just having this relationship, and apparently he should have disclosed it.
And she's an exec at CNN as well.
Yeah. Now, I think what's strange is just the context in which this has emerged, because if it was not emerging at the same time as all these other scandals going on, it would just be kind of oh, you're not going to believe what I found out. It would be more of like a workplace romance. Like, I've married a comedian, I've married a man that I met while I was working.
Did you announce it on Chortle?
No, I did not.
Why should they have to announce? Why should he have to announce it to the company? I guess because they're both powerful execs.
I suppose so. I mean, I guess that if they have a fight one morning where it's like, you are now treating me like I'm nothing, then it's going to affect how they work.
Well, there was that investigation into Chris Cuomo at CNN, and so they asked around who else is banging who else, and he didn't reveal it. He lied. He withheld. And so when they found out that he was doing it, he said, look, I've got to resign because of this, which sounds silly, but I mean, I guess it's his position of power. He's got to use his authority some way.
OK, we've come to the end of part 2. We're going to take a break now for the weather and then some ads, and then we'll be back with part 3, in which we find out about the priest who has been liking pictures of naked men on Twitter.
Hi there. A cloudy night for most of us, with some rain, mainly towards the northwest, and it will be mild with that blanket of cloud covering the UK. A warm front has gone through. That continues to march northeastwards overnight, and following that warm front, we've got a westerly breeze and mild, moist air coming in off the Atlantic. So that breeze is bringing that extensive cloud cover. A few breaks in the cloud across central and southern parts of the country overnight, but nothing particularly widespread or long-lasting. And even under the cloud breaks, with the breeze coming from the west-southwest, it is going to stay mild. Temperatures, well, around 8 or 7 degrees first thing. 4 Celsius there in Lerwick, one of the colder spots, but frost-free for virtually everyone. And damp towards western hills and coasts in particular, with that rainfall persistent over the Welsh Mountains, the Pennines, the Scottish Highlands throughout much of Thursday. However, there will be some cloud breaks for central and southern parts of England, South Wales, some sunshine coming through for Thursday afternoon. 11 Celsius here, but it's turning colder in the far northwest as a spell of wet and windy weather arrives. A lively spell of weather with some heavy rain and gales along this feature as it moves south across Scotland, Northern Ireland into Northern England and Wales. And over the higher ground of Wales, Northern England and Scotland, we're likely to see a brief spell of snow. Could even see some snowflakes to lower levels in places, particularly the southeast of England, by the end of Friday night. Colder air is following the weather front, but also brighter skies. So once early cloud and rain is out of the way from the southeast, actually plenty of sunny spells. However, the cold wind will feel raw, and it will contain a lot of showers in the north and the west, those falling as sleet and snow over the higher ground and even to lower levels for northern Scotland. Saturday brings with it more cloud and some rain in the far north, along with a strengthening wind.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, to part 3, and with me representing all the sexualities are Diane Spencer and Scott Capurro. Now, Whoopi Goldberg gate continues. Her comments about the Holocaust not being about race has led her to get a 2-week ban from The View, and this is from the Metro, Scott. What is The View?
The View is a morning show in the US, and it's mostly, well, all the hosts are female, and it's people just sitting around chatting around, and it's pretty casual and friendly, although they do get some snipes, they do. And Whoopi Goldberg and another host on the show were chatting about the Holocaust. And she's 66, and she has her own views, and the other woman did too. And Whoopi claimed that the Holocaust was not about race. And her point, from what I've read, and I've watched the clip, what she meant was, I think, that the Holocaust was about two groups of white people going after each other. And she's obviously a black woman from the US. So her perspective on race tends to be, I think, based on skin color, if nothing else. And she said, it's really about these people treating each other badly, not about race. It's about the way the human race can go after itself. And she since apologized for these remarks and said that they were insensitive, and that obviously the Holocaust was about race as far as the Germans were concerned. And she's been suspended for 2 weeks because of it. And I feel like, she's lucky, I think. Piers Morgan claimed that she should be fired because Sharon Osbourne was fired for something similar. But I think firing Whoopi Goldberg would be the end of that show. She's such a huge part of it. She's such an icon in the US. And I think you can forgive this person for this remark, especially because she's apologized. And, in the heat of an argument, she probably said something that she hadn't really thought out.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be able to discuss things and get them wrong in discussion, because that's how you learn.
Yes.
But nevertheless, pretty ignorant for someone of her status.
It is, and she was wrong, and she's admitted that. And I'm surprised, though, that within her field of expertise and the kind of people she works with and who she's around, and the kind of research and stuff she's done in the past, and documentaries she's filmed, that she felt that way.
I think she's probably we're all got our little cocoons, and she was in one of hers, Diane. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. And Whoopi Goldberg, I think, is not just an icon in the US. I think she's a worldwide icon. I mean, she's a woman that I've seen in so many different ways, shapes and forms in different films. And like you said, in the heat of an argument, you can sort of blurt things out, and you know what you mean, and your intentions are good. But unfortunately, when it gets received, it gets miscommunicated.
This is a question to both of you. Has she, when other people have uttered unacceptable thoughts stupidly, has she called witch hunts and called for them to be banned? Because if she has, then maybe she should get a taste of her own medicine.
Not that I know of, but she has done inappropriate appearances before. When she was dating Ted Danson, you may remember, they appeared. She was accompanying him, and he blackfaced at a public event, and they were highly criticized.
But that was when you were allowed to blackface.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And so I think that she, for her, race is obviously a touchy subject. Something that she was able to deal with in a comedic sense, and helped her build a career around. And I think, like you said, the bubble thing. I think she's kind of lost that focus, and now this will refocus her.
Right, an American swimmer who spent 2 years competing in the men's event is now competing in the women's after transitioning. And she beat the competition by a full 38 seconds, breaking records along the way. Diane, this is in the Telegraph.
Well, what I must say is brilliant is how many transgender people love sports. I think it's brilliant. I'm always hearing about transgender people breaking records in sports. Amazing. I think there needs to be more funding for transgender people to go into things like engineering, maybe into things like health and social care. Let's broaden their horizons. I would hate to think that every single transgender child at school is going, well, first of all, I was, born in the wrong body, and I've come to terms with that, but now I've got to pick which sport I'm going to do. I mean, this is ridiculous, and I don't think we should be shoving all of our transgender people into sports. I think we should give them other options.
Yeah, but Caitlyn Jenner, come on, the decathlon, that's the hardest one. She won a gold. She's amazing.
Give us a story. Will you summarise the story for us?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. So in the USA, they have updated a transgender policy in a college after the swimming policy after the comedian, not journalist, after the college athlete beat the rivals. So they've updated their policy, and they're basically now saying you have to record low levels of testosterone prior to competing for 36 months. Now, we all know that women do have fluctuating hormone levels, and I'm pretty sure that once a month I have enough testosterone to run through a brick wall. So
I just saw a cold look come into your eyes then, just for a moment, and I think she's right. Right, cold look. Didn't know you had that in the locker. Diane, right, the Mail is next. A Church of England priest has been liking pictures of naked men on Twitter. Well, we've all done it.
What a shock. I know. People aren't looking at my naked pictures often enough, actually. I just sent him some. He's just a priest, Michael Todd. Come on, he's just a priest. He's 59. He's looking through Twitter.
They were naturists.
And he claims that the church, Christianity, and naturism has a lot in common.
I think they do.
Yeah.
How he draws those together, I don't know. I'd like to hear that conversation. I'm sure it's over a glass of wine. I'm sure that naturism, Christianity, and a glass of wine late at night have a lot to do with one another. And I'm sure his flipping fingers were busy. He saw a couple of photos that included genitalia. Can I say that? Included genitalia, and he liked it. Well, we all like a bit of genitalia, 2 in the morning, don't we? It's like fast food. In the daytime, ew. 2 in the morning, yummy. So there you are.
Morals change after dark.
But he also has a role as an Anglican priest. He is the Children's Society Church Engagement Manager, it's a mouthful, isn't it? It provides a guiding light of online safety for the young, represented by that charity. So because of that, right, he shouldn't be looking, or should he? Really? It's just nudity.
Have you got any thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's quite interesting because Big Brother was monitoring him, and that's how they found out. And Big Brother, in this case, was not God. It was the PR officer.
It was, who scrolled back.
Yeah, who actually was watching his Twitter interaction.
I like stuff on Twitter when I'm too scared to retweet it because I think it'll reflect badly on me. I didn't realise other people could see or were notified when I liked things. Anyway, rather a sweet story next from The Guardian. An 8-year-old author from Idaho hid his unpublished book on the shelf in his local library, and it proved a surprise hit, Diane.
This is a brilliant story. Dylan is a hero. So Dylan wrote this epic tale called, Damn, where is the title? Help me.
It's called A Christmas Star.
Thank you, A Christmas Star. And it's now got a 55-person waiting list. They all want a copy. And he wrote it, and it's about time travelling to the North Pole, and he time travels to the first Thanksgiving and to the North Pole. Now, he wrote the book, and then he went, well, this is a pretty good book, and let's get it out there. And he went into a library and he hid it in the library.
You just put it on the shelf?
Yes, but the librarians, when they found it, they were like, oh no, we will look after this book. And they gave it a number and they put it on the shelf, and now they're talking about making digital copies. And I love the fact that Dylan went, I'm not going to let some publisher stop me. I'm not going to let the agent stop me. No glass ceiling. He just got his artwork out to the people, and what is he? He's 8? Amazing.
I'm so jealous of this kid.
Yeah.
I've been turned down by so many publishers. Who knew? I just had to kind of wander from library to library and drop a couple of books off. That's all it takes.
And dress up as an 8-year-old. The Mail is next, and Worcester City Council has infuriated its residents, Scott.
Yes, apparently. They're furious over some woke behavior by the City Council because the City Council is trying to get people in Worcester to leave the house and go for a walk. But people are like, I don't need to be taught how to walk. I'm fine. You should spend the money. They're going to hire an active travel officer. They're going to spend £100,000 on this person over 3 years to get commuters, to encourage commuters to walk and cycle instead of using the car.
So is he going to walk around the streets talking to people, or how is he going to do it exactly?
He's going to teach people how to ride a bike, and he's going to wear a cute little outfit. Come on, you guys, and get out there. He's going to run around. He's going to show off. He's going to, maybe slim down during the period to show how you can lose weight. There's also they're building with before and after photos.
Boris should go up and jog with him. Boris should do a live thing with the Worcester.
Imagine the size of Boris if he didn't jog at 5 a.m. Maybe that should be their poster. But I'm just saying, this guy's out there. He's doing a good job. This is crazy wokeness. We don't need this. What we need are our roads repaved to stop traffic from happening. We need, other things done, not this. But I think it's adorable. They're saying it's like it's green project that won't work.
It's not adorable. It's a total waste of money, and I'm on the side of the Worcester residents. Right, rather a sad story from the Times, Diane. Somebody tried to help a beached dolphin back into the sea, and it ended up drowning.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Apparently, there are dolphin do's and dolphin don'ts. And these people walked along and they found this dolphin and they went, "We can save you." And they're there like pushing it back into the sea, going under the sea. They're like, they've all got this great big vibe going on. They're like Instagramming, #saving dolphins. And they must have done something a bit strange to the poor little thing because it got water in its blowhole and they drowned the baby dolphin.
The baby dolphin. And the mother is watching from out.
Oh, can you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah, it's like Planet of the Apes, but Planet of the Dolphins.
Apparently you don't put a dolphin back in, you call whoever, the RSPCA.
You chop it up and barbecue it. Delicious.
Scott Capurro.
Well, what?
Do not poo in public, says the sign, and it has worked. People have stopped pooing in public. This is from The Sun. Prolific public pooer Scott Capurro.
Why do I get this story, for God's sake? They put up a sign in Little Bowden outside Market Harborough, and it was because this people had been, defecating in public, and they had to put a sign up that said, if you keep doing this, there's going to be a fine of £2,500 if we catch you. And they had to put up CCTV cameras, and it worked. People stopped, and they just went elsewhere to do it. So they're going to move the cameras and, reinstigate the fine. You can't stop people, can you? People have to go.
Signs work.
Yes.
Now, we've got 30 seconds, Diane. Homosexuality is a sin in Australia.
Only if you're doing it correctly.
Yes. Finally, it'll be better, thank God. Making it all so woke is so boring. I'd rather break the law, actually.
Since when has your name been Diane? Right, that's all we have time for, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for watching. I'd like to thank my guests, Diane Spencer and Scott Capurro, thank you to you for watching back at home through to the end. I'll be back with more headliners at the same time tomorrow. Until then, from everyone here behind the scenes, cheerio. And I'm also asked to remind you that Headliners is on at the same time every day at 11 in the evenings and repeated at 5 the following morning. So make sure you tune in. You have literally no excuse. Until then, from all of us here, I'll be back tomorrow. It's cheerio.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that,